The fourth piece of evidence for God's existence is the innate drive that you and I as human beings have to know God, to experience the transcendent, to experience meaning in life, to experience love. Anthropology shows us that around the world, every culture has some type of religion. We as human beings are incurably religious. Blaise Pascal, the brilliant 17th century French physicist, wrote, "You and I have a God-shaped vacuum at the center of our being." Yes, you and I are wired in such a way that we desire to know God. Augustine put it magnificently when he wrote, "Our hearts are restless until they find their rest in Thee, O God." You and I as human beings have an innate drive for meaning in life. But if there is no God, life is absurd. Albert Camus, the famous French atheistic existentialist philosopher, wrote a book called L'Étranger. The first words of the book are the words of a young teenage boy who says, "Yesterday, Mother died. Or was it today? Who gives a rip? Death simply ends the absurdity that birth began." Camus was consistent. If there is no God, there's no intelligent mind behind the universe who creates us for a purpose. Our number just came up in a Monte Carlo game. If your birth is an accident and your death is an accident, it follows that there's one thing that lies between those two accidents. Another accident. You and me. Go to a cemetery. Look at the tombstones. A name, a birth date, and a death date. What's in between those two dates? A dash. And that's all your life is, friend. A dash from the hospital you're born in to the hospital you die in. And life is a cosmic joke. Oh, people say, we can create our own meaning. Sure you can, my atheist friend. You can create your own meaning. And I can go around saying, "I'm the greatest, I'm the greatest." But in reality, I'm not the greatest. And if in reality, my number came up in a Monte Carlo game and I happened by accident, then to argue for human dignity, to argue for the sanctity of life, is an exercise in futility. And that is why I respect the great atheistic philosophers, Camus, Sartre, the great atheistic nihilist philosopher, Friedrich Nietzsche. Because you see, those atheists had the courage and the intellectual honesty and the intellectual consistency to acknowledge, because there is no God, life is ultimately absurd and meaningless. Now, maybe we can create our own meaning, but guess what, folks? If life is meaningless and you want to define meaning as Adolf Hitler did, you're right for yourself. But if you want to create meaning and have it as Mother Teresa did, you're right for yourself. And it really doesn't matter whether you be an Hitler or a Teresa. It's all relative. It's all meaningless. Rubbish. Down deep, you and I know better than that. Because God has created us for a purpose, to love and worship God and to love and serve each other. And yes, you and I long for love. And Dr. Newdow, you have a daughter whom you love. But if there is no God, your love is simply a drive to preserve the genetic pool. If there is no God, and if all of reality is matter and energy, then love is simply a biochemical reaction. Garbage. You know, Dr. Newdow, that you can choose freely to love your daughter, or you can choose to be a deadbeat dad. It's your decision. You choose. And I know that experience. I don't have to love anybody. I can be apathetic, I can hate, or I can choose to give, to serve, and to sacrifice. And to reduce love to simply a biochemical reaction is overly simplistic. There's more to life than biochemicals. Biochemicals are very important, obviously, but there's more to life. You and I have this innate ability to genuinely love each other. The evidence is there must be more to reality than matter and energy. There must be some type of God.